All right, we are back here on the Just and the Suffering podcast, getting ready for the NBA season here. Season tips off next week. Celtics raising the banner. With us here to do our annual edition here, NBA over-unders. One of my co-hosts from the Sky Guys podcast, Nick Fraietta is here. Nick, how are you?
Doing well. This is how many years in a row we've done this now? Three or four?
It is three.
So yeah, exciting. It's fun. It's good to be back. Good to be on the other cast, the
Yeah,
other pod.
yeah. You're on the mothership.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's exciting.
Yeah, excited to have you on here. It's very exciting NBA offseason too. There's a lot of movement here. My Knicks did a lot of things. We saw Paul George move. A lot of players moved around. So a lot of big names. A lot of changing locales here. So it's like the NBA sort of everybody's trying to reckon with this whole new CBA, the second apron thing, and making a lot of crazy moves.
You say what you will about the NBA, and I say it all the time that I don't like the regular season. It's boring, whatever. But you can't deny how good the off seasons are.
Yeah,
People go, and it's always been this way too. And the CBA, don't, and the new ones only make it more extreme. But even like 10 years ago, the movements every off season were crazy.
yeah. Like, NBA is the best offseason of the four professional sports.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun. The contracts are relatively short compared to other sports, and people get a lot of money, and teams are willing to pay.
Yeah. And plus, I mean, think about like how crazy it is. I mean, you got the Celtics win, they everybody locked up here. The Knicks basically finally cashing all their chips. They bring in Bridges and Karl Anthony Towns to build their own super team. You got a third super team with Philly, with Big Three with Paul George joining Embiid and Maxey. The East is loaded. The West is always loaded. You got the Spurs bringing in CP3 to help Wemby. You got Klay Thompson going to Dallas. There's a lot of moving parts this year.
Always is,
Yeah.
always is. It's crazy, and the league is pretty top heavy compared to I don't want to say prior years, but like the last couple of years have been top heavy compared to the last 10 years, if you will. There's some bad teams, and there's some really good ones.
Yeah, there's a few teams that are tanking for Cooper Flag, and there's a couple teams at the top who are trying to make the run for the title right now.
Yes,
Yeah,
yeah. Well, we will see who ends up with the Duke Phenom.
yeah, yeah,
I
and
just can't believe it when you look at him. I mean, he hasn't played yet, but he's born in 2006 and the end of 2006. Isn't that crazy to hear?
yeah, it makes you feel old.
Yeah, he's not even 18 yet.
Yeah,
Not even 18. It's
yeah,
crazy.
yeah. So to reset here, we did this last year. Here, we'll share the results with you. I don't think we ever touched on it on the pod in the meantime here, but Nick ended up winning the day on the picks. He went 3-1 with his over unders last year. He had the Magic over 37.5. That was a great pick. They closed it easily. Thunder over 44.5. They ended up going the one seed in the West. The Bucks go under 53.5. Nick wins that. And he had the Clippers under 49.5. That was a narrow loss because they looked like good for about until the James Harden trade. Then they took off and covered the numbers. So 3-1 for Nick.
I remember early on they did the James Harden trade, and I said to you, "Was like, nah, I'm losing that. That sucks.
Yeah.
What are you gonna do?"
Yeah. My picks, I went 2-2 on the year. I had the Nets over 37.5. I bought the Cal Bridges chemistry. It did not work out very well. Cavs over 15.5. A lot of injuries. That didn't work out there. They will play
No.
48 games. They're also trying to stay under, like avoid the Sixers in the first round. My unders both had the Suns under 52.5. That was a lock for a while. The Warriors under 47.5. They had a late push, but they ended up with 46. So 2-2 for me.
Yep. And hopefully I can continue the streak here.
Yeah, we'll see if we can continue the streak here. So now let's go ahead and as the guest, I'll give you the choices. Again, two overs, two unders, doing the lines from FanDuel. So would you like the first pick or you like the second and third picks?
I'll go first because I have one that it almost seems too good to be true, and I want to take it right away.
Okay.
So I will go first. I am taking the Houston Rockets over 42 and a half. I don't understand how they're only 42 and a half. This team went 41 and 41 last year. They're one of the youngest rosters in the league. They're up and coming. They have a great young roster, I think, and they have the second in terms of rookie of the year candidate in
Yeah.
terms of betting odds with what's his name slipping me? The
Yeah.
big guy, the big man, the big man.
Yeah. Oh, they got Klingon.
I have to look at his name, but let me get it right now because this draft was a disaster.
Yeah.
The 2024 draft, but I'm taking the Rockets over. I think it's a gimme.
Yeah.
I
I
don't see how they don't hit it.
I love the rocket over. That was if you were going to take it, I was going to take it because I mean this team went 500 last year, a bunch of young talent, they have a good coach in Adoka, and this team feels like that they actually want to do well and get into the play-in in the West, and you're going to have to be over 500 to do that. So 42.5 is like a slam dunk.
It's Reed Shepard. That's what I'm thinking. The Kentucky kid.
Yes, he's going to hit a bunch of threes on that team.
Yeah, and I just don't understand how they're this low. I
Yeah,
really don't. They
yeah,
don't have really any injuries. They're a young team. They're up and coming. Like I said, they were 41 and 41 last year.
yeah,
And if you remember the end of the year, I believe they went on a huge push for the playoffs and almost made it.
yeah. They had a big heater at the end of the season.
So I'm expecting them to have a very good season.
Yeah. So your first pick's on the board. I have my first pick now. I'm going to be up here. I'm going to go to the overside here. This is a big returning situation here because this is a spot that we don't really pay attention to this team because they lost their guy for all but like a handful of games last year. Memphis over 47.5 with John Morant back because people don't realize this team was flirting with 50 wins and John Morant was healthy 2 years ago. They were the 2 seed in the West. They end up getting bounced out. Ja has the gun suspension. Then he comes back, gets hurt immediately. They get basically fall off a cliff without him. Now everybody's healthy for the most part. They have good pieces around Ja. They think this is a team that's going to bounce back nicely here. I think they're going to be in the top three mix in the West. So I'll take the over on Memphis.
I like the pick. Friend of the podcast, Dan DiMartini, his team.
Yep.
And a weird thing about them was the year they were really good. They were better when John didn't play, but I think that's just a coincidence because
Yeah.
last year's proof of that.
Yeah, we saw when he had the 12 game suspension. They went like 7-18 when they didn't have him.
Yeah,
Yeah.
right. So that was a coincidence 2 years ago. They were better with Adams, and I think that's clear. So they could be undervalued there.
All right, so that's one of my picks. Another pick here, I'm gonna go with an under here. This is one I love, based, and this is reactionary to the trade that just happened. Minnesota under 51.5 feels like a great value here because I think they made this trade to avoid the second apron and they get rid of Carl Anthony Towns' contract for Randall and DiVincenzo. Julius Randle, I don't think is a good fit with the offense they had there. He's going to clog the floor for Anthony Edwards. It's not going to help too much. Donnie DiVincenzo could off the bench, but I think the offense could take a big step back from Minnesota. I think that they're going to be in a tough Western Conference. They have to basically do to win another 53, 54 games to hit this over. I think they're down closer to 46, 47 right now. So I'll take the Timberwolf under here. I think that the fit's not going to be as good with Randall as it was with Towns.
I agree with the fit. The only thing that worries me, Anthony Edwards came on at the end of the year and looks like a top three player, top five player in the league. If he continues that and becomes one of the best players, it doesn't really matter how good the fit is. He can just take over games. But I agree, the fit isn't there, and I think that's just a problem with Randall in general. He's a good player. He's a good scorer. There's not many teams where he doesn't fit in a good team. He's so good on a bad team where he can just rack up numbers. He doesn't really fit on a winning team.
He's like your number one option, like a 38 win team.
Yeah, and he's great at that. And he'll put up 22 and 10 easy or 24 and 10 and have a great season. But I don't know how he fits into a winning roster.
Plus, he's very ball dominant, which it doesn't really work with a roster
Yeah, exactly.
where Ant needs the ball and you have Gobert basically clogging the middle of the paint here. Like the spacing shrinks a lot for Ant in this situation.
Yeah, I'm not really sure where he's going to be. So
Yeah.
we'll see.
All right, so you're out now for your next pick. Where are you going with your next one? You
I
you
got two now or one?
won. We go one the rest of the way.
Okay. Um, you did both your overs, right? No, you didn't. You did one of each.
We get one of each.
All right, well, I'll do my other over then. I'll just do that. I'll do my overs and I'll do my under. My second over I want to do is I want to take Denver. There's at 50 and a half. I think we're only 1 year removed now from them being the champs and Jokic being this phenom that he still is. They won 57 last year. Are they going to lose eight more games this year? Is Jokic hurt that I don't know about? Why are they down 8 games from last season? What happened to this team? I don't think they're that much worse at all. They still have their pieces. They still have their main guys and their coach. I can see them bouncing back. I think of last year as more of the we won the title year. Let's just
Yo,
get to the playoffs and see what happens. And that was already 57 wins. So I don't see them losing eight more games.
Yeah, I think there are a couple of worries there with me would try to stay away from this one, which is number one, they've been losing depth pieces slowly, so like the roster's thinner behind their starters, which is a problem. The West is a little stronger, and I think also I do think there's also potential here for a little bit of like coast mode where they're kind of cruising through December and January, like dropping some random game because making sure guys are rested for the stretch run. So I could see it. Like I think you're on the right side. I'm not touching it.
I mean, they don't have the depth they had. Their best bench player now is probably Russell Westbrook.
Yeah.
But they still have their guys. They still have their coach. They still have Jokic, Porter, Gordon, Murray. They still have all the guys. So to me, eight more losses is a bit extreme.
Yep. I think it's a bit extreme here. So I'm up next. I've used one of each. I'm going to close out the underside here. And this is one I feel like this team is getting hyped beyond belief. And I think it's a big jump. I don't know if they're ready to make it yet. Give me the under on 35.5 for San Antonio. I feel like I know Wemby's great. I know Chris Paul will help. I know they got some rookies in the mix here. This is still a very, 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 very young basketball team trying to learn how to win. And I think going from 22 wins to 36 wins, that's a 14 win jump. I know Popov's a very good coach. I just don't trust that this is happening right away. I think you might have another year here where the Spurs take a leap. Even if they go to 33 wins, you're still under the number by 2 wins. And I think this is a gradual build. I don't know how to compete with the plan. I don't think they're there quite yet. So I'm going to take the under on San Antonio.
I like it. I think that you're definitely on the right side of that. I think the public's going to be all over the Spurs over just because it's very popular. You look at the year that Wemby had last year, you go, oh, he's another year older. He's going to be that much better. It makes sense that they would be much better. But at the same time, they were really bad last year. Like, let's not forget about that. They lost 60 games.
Yes.
So, I mean, there were actually, as I mentioned at the top of the show, there were a lot of bad teams last year. I think there were 5 teams that lost 60 games last year. That is not, I don't think that's normal. I could be wrong with the history, but I'm with you in that this is a little bit of let's try to get people to take that over because everyone's going to be high on them because of how great Wemby did, and it might be a little too soon. That doesn't mean that this team won't be great one day with Wemby at the middle. I think they will be, but I don't know if that year's right now.
I think it's a little early.
Yeah.
All right. So you're up now. You have both your unders left.
Yes. So I'm going to take the one I'm more confident in first. Give me under on the New Orleans Pelicans. They're at 40. They're at 45 and a half. And my reason is simple. Last year, this team won 49 games. And in my opinion, that is everything working perfectly for them to win 49 games. Zion played 70 games last year. He might do it again. If I had to make a bet, I'm going to say no. He's not playing 70 games this year.
Yeah.
So to me, this is the Miami Dolphins of the NBA, where everything went right last year for the Dolphins and Tua and not injured. I mean, of course, you know, that was 2 years ago with the concussions and whatnot. Like everything went right with Tua, where it was he didn't get hurt and he stayed healthy. And look what they did. They were a pretty decent team. They weren't amazing by any means. And now it's like, well, you know what? It's not like just because he had one healthy year means he's going to be healthy forever. So I think the same thing happens here. I'm just expecting Zion to miss a lot of time and this team to be much worse because of that.
Yeah. I also feel like the mix is not right there. Like that group has a lot of talent, just never has taken off where like Zion's never really reached the heights that he had at Duke in terms of like being a dominant, like franchise carrying type of talent. They have the pieces around there are not the best fits, in my opinion, with the Pelicans. And like the West is stacked, like they could drop off a little bit and miss the play in entirely.
Yeah, and a lot of people talk about like Brandon Ingram a lot and how good he is, and he's a really good player. But we're at year 9 now. To year 9 of Brandon Ingram,
Here's what he is.
he still hasn't. What is he? A one-time All-Star?
Yeah.
He's a good player, sure. I have no problem with Brandon Ingram. I loved him as a Laker. But to year 9, when's it going to happen? I don't think it is going to happen.
Yeah.
He's a good player. He's not anything ridiculously special though. And if he's your number one option, which he is when Zion's not there, it's not that good.
Yeah, it really isn't. So I have one pick left. It's an over, and I have to do it here because I feel like they care too much about the regular season and all the talent here. I'm taking the over on the Knicks with 53.5 wins. I feel like this team, Tom Thibodeau, cares about playing regular season games. They have so much wing depth with Bridges and Anunoby, if Josh Hart down low, Mitchell Robinson's coming back. They have some talented bench units. They'll definitely get people wanting to come in and ring chase after the buyout period. And the Knicks as a whole, I sort of feel like we want to prove to everybody that we belong in the head table with the Celtics and the Thunder and the top NBA title contenders here. And I think that they're going to make a stay here, end up with the 2 seed in the East. They're not going to finish ahead of Boston, I don't think. But I think this is a 55-56 win Knick team here. And they're going to cruise the regular season. They're going to play hard every game. So give me the Knicks over here. I think this is a minus of the regular season. And we'll see what sets them up for the playoff run this spring.
No, I'm completely with you. I love the pick. I think the Knicks are going to show up 82 games, and they have a lot to prove still. They lost to the Pacers in the playoffs. Are they a better team than the Pacers? I think they are.
Yes.
So, losing to them in the playoffs do you want to prove that wasn't, that was a fluke? You want to prove you're better than them. Philadelphia is a team that was injured last year. And everyone said, "Oh, the Knicks would have played in Philly instead. The series would have been different if Embiid wasn't hurt." The Knicks want to prove that that's not true. They want to prove, no, we're better than this team. So I
Yes.
think the Knicks are going to show up every game and be one of those teams that is working hard all year to try to, be better.
Yeah, this is not a franchise with Thibodeau. It's gonna take off like a couple of games. Like, oh, load management. We have to sit Cat today because we don't want to play too many games. They're gonna play guys and play them lots of minutes. Make sure they take advantage
Yeah.
of their schedule.
So first off, that's just how Tibbs is, and second, the Knicks have a lot to prove to the league. I think they are correct in their thought, but like they need to prove to the league that they weren't a fluke last year. They are a good team. They have these pieces that are going to work, and I think it's definitely true. I think all the stuff will work. I love the Knicks to win the title as a bet with the odds, but you need to prove it to the rest of the league because the rest of the league may not think that.
All right, so you're up now. You have one under left. What are you doing?
Well, you said they're not going to finish above the Celtics. I think they are. I'm taking the Celtics with the under.
Under
I
58
think
and a half.
that
I'm on the board.
58 and a half, a lot of points, or excuse me, a lot of wins. I just think that not that the Knicks are better than Boston. I don't think they are. I think they could beat Boston in a 7 game series, though. And Boston, I think, is suffering from that. This is not a problem, of course, but they're suffering from that. Well, we did it last year. They don't need to work 82 games hard. They just they're the kind of team now that they won. Let's keep guys healthy. Let's try to keep our best to keep Porzingis healthy. Go into the playoffs with a healthy Porzingis. Let's make sure that Tatum and Brown are not dinged up by the time we get to April. I think they're going to take a little bit of a step back, and because of that, and because does that mean that they're not going to be a top team in the NBA? No. But do I think that they're going to win 55 games? Probably. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think they're going to take a little bit of a step back just to keep guys healthy and focus more on the playoffs because that's what matters to them right now. It's not they don't care about winning 70 games or 65 games, whatever it may be, or even 60 games. I think they just want to get into the playoffs, get home games in the playoffs, and that's it.
Yeah, like I could see this situation with the Celtics and say, not like if X player, X starter here is dinged up, we're gonna sit him tonight. Make sure we don't turn into a lingering problem and misses 3 weeks, or we don't have somebody like overdoing themselves to the point they're ineffective in the playoffs. Whereas like as long as we're not in the play-in, like even if we are like a 5 seed, like we're confident that our talent will take us over the top and the games actually matter.
Yeah, they know their team, the fit of all the players works. They know that what they have put in place is a winning strategy, considering they just did. So in their mind, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. So let's try to get that same group of players that we had playing last June, playing in the playoffs for us this year again. And if that means taking a couple days off every now and then for some players, I think they'll do it.
All right, so to reset here, Nick's picks. He took the Rockets over 42 and a half, the Nuggets over 50 and a half, the Pelicans under 45 and a half, and the Boston Celtics under 58 and a half here. So four interesting picks here. My picks took the Grizzlies over 47 and a half, the Timberwolves under 51 and a half, the Spurs under 35 and a half, and the Knicks over 53 and a half. So how you feeling about the situation here?
Well, I love my Rockets pick. When you said we were going to do this, I took a look at the odds. I was looking at it. I thought it was said 51, and I like or 52, and I like went back and like double take. I was like, it says 42. Is this the standard like Vegas trap game where it's like the home team in football is +2, the road team's so much better, and you're freaking out about it? This
Yeah,
just seems too good to be true to me.
yeah. Also here, any other ones on your consideration list that you were looking at?
Yeah, so I had one honorable mention that I was going to throw out there, but I didn't. And based on my background, you can half tell what it is.
Yeah, you take
And it's not the Lakers.
yeah.
It's under on the Clippers because I hate them. Um, I would say under on the Clippers simply because you lost Paul George now, and like Kawhi Leonard just doesn't play. So when are you going to win games?
Yeah.
Now they did win the division last year. It was good
Yes.
for them, but I understand that they're not a terrible team. They do have pieces, but I just, I don't like them, so I'm gonna go against them in any way I can.
Yeah, so
They also branded. I don't know if you saw that.
yeah, I did see that. So I also threw out here. I had an option. I had the Lakers as an over here because I think that like 42.5 is low on the Lakers. I know LeBron's getting old, but like that if you're telling me they're going on the under, they're probably not making the play in. I could think the Lakers are making the play in.
Yeah, no, I thought about doing it too. I just didn't want to pick my own team, but yeah, it seems low.
Yeah.
I don't think they're gonna be a 50-win team. I don't think they're not good enough for that, especially because they don't stay healthy enough for that on a normal year with LeBron and AD. But I can't like I guess that's Brady. That over under is basically telling you we're expecting one of them to get hurt.
Yes.
So I think if they're healthy, they're going to beat that over under. So
Yeah.
I hope so too. I mean, they won 47 last year.
Yeah. Yeah. I had that one. The underside of consideration for the Sixers because you're expecting me to believe that Embiid and Paul George have stay in the majority of the season healthy. I don't buy it. 15.5. This might be a season where again they're kind of down towards the plane because the guys are not on the court. The Pistons under 25.5. I like, yeah, fool me many times. Let me see the Pistons actually do it before I buy them taking
Yeah,
the
I thought about that one too. Like they're going to win 11 more games based on what?
yeah. Yeah. Cade Cunningham's not doing that by himself.
Nope.
Yeah.
Nope, it's not.
And the net number, I was there in the under here because they're very bad.
Crazy. 18, right?
18.5. They're built to be very bad. And anybody useful probably get traded at the deadline. Make sure they get the most chances at ping pong ball to Cooper Flag.
Yeah, that is that must be one of the lowest over unders I can remember.
Yeah.
The 18 and a half is crazy. I mean, you win 18 games, or if they win 19 games, they're beating it. They're over, right?
Yep.
19 and 61 is a terrible season. Then they'd be over it.
1963.
Right. Yeah. 19 and 63, they'd be over. A terrible season.
Yeah. It would be a very terrible season. So we'll see what happens with these picks. We'll check back some point. Nick, thanks for all the time. Really appreciate it. People are giving us on the Sky Guys podcast. What's going on over there right now? They haven't had a feed drop over here in a few minutes.
The lightsaber bracket battles going on. We're coming up with we're doing a little bracket with the best lightsaber battles in all of Star Wars, trying to figure out what the best one is. And I got to say something really interesting about it that I want to tell you and
Yeah.
the audience here is I've also like kind of done this offline. We have our polls on Instagram, then obviously me, you, and Pete are discussing on the Sky Guys, but also just people just sending them the bracket and saying, "What do you think?"
Yeah.
I'm not asking them to fill it out. I understand it's a lot of work. Just like, what do you think? Everyone is telling me it's not close, and this is the answer. But everyone's telling me a different answer.
People are very opinionated about their lightsaber battles.
Yeah, so it's like everyone's saying this one beats this one and it's not close. Or in my opinion, it's this one and it's not close.
Yeah.
But everyone's saying a different one.
Yeah.
So it's actually really funny. I think when we get down to the final four, it's actually going to be a legit vote. As a more so than like it's going to come down to it more so than just we know who's going to win the first round, second round, you know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah, it makes some sense. And people that follows the Sky Guys podcast, how can they do that?
At Sky Guys Podcast on Instagram, Twitter, X, Threads, and TikTok.
All right, sounds good, Nick. Thanks for all the time. Really appreciate it.
All right, let's check in soon and see how these over unders do. Go Rockets.